I think the most important part is when there's two aspects, right? You can be a part of community and you can create community. And so the benefits of that, not only is it the perfect lead generator into your business, it's the best way to retain people in your business and your community. They stay in your life. You're constantly top of mind because you're sending referrals to people, you're connecting people, you're in their inboxes because you're hosting events and get-togethers. And it's also a great way to learn about your own business, right? What do you like? What would you like to be seen done differently? What would you like added into the membership? Did this event resonate with you? So having a community takes the guesswork out. My people are literally telling me what they like and don't like. It'll make you top of mind. It'll give you insight into your own business, ways to bring people in, and ways to keep your retention high.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Empire Secrets. I'm your host, Mariana Henninger. I love this woman that we have today on the show. Her name is Inbal Claudio. She is a 3-time founder. I met her through Like Minded Collective, which is the social networking platform that she created for female founders. She also started Like Minded OC, which is an in-person, maybe spinoff, or I'll let you explain Like Minded OC versus Like Minded Collective, which is the online platform. And recently she has started Founders Who Shabbat, and we're going to talk about that also. The reason I brought Inbal on the show today is to talk about the power of community. When I think of the word community, I think of Inbal, which is kudos to you and your branding and your messaging being so aligned. You not only have created community, you have taught about community, and we're going to just tear it up in the best way possible today. Rip the wrapping to shreds and get to the inner core of this combo. Inbal, what did I miss about your intro that people should know about you?
Oh my gosh, I am just as excited to talk to you now that I have a mic, which is up to your standards, so thankfully. So what did I miss? What did you miss? I mean, I'm a mom of 3. I have 3 little kids, a 5, a 3, and a 1.5-year-old. I'm originally from Israel. I was born there and moved to California, where I was raised mostly and where I currently live with my husband. We did a short stint in North Carolina, but are thankfully back with beautiful weather and a family to help raise my children. But kind of what Mariana said, like my whole being and the reason for my company and everything that I do is based around community. I truly believe that community is beneficial for life and business. And if you create it with full intention of just helping people, it can work wonders for your business. Everything I do is around the mission of friendship first and business second. So I'm excited to dive in.
Oh, that's right. Isn't that the new slogan on the tote bag?
Yes. So it's been my tagline forever. It's been on my website and everything, but yes, it is officially on the tote, and it's officially
it's on the tote, my friend. So it's official.
On the tote.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect segue into my first question for you. I realize that you talk so much about community versus membership, or you don't use the term membership a lot. And it got me thinking, so what is the difference between community and membership? And most importantly, I loved your answer because you talked about the feelings around community. So super quickly, your answer was about how membership is just more of a way to structure your offer. And it doesn't necessarily have to include all of these wonderful feelings around community. So just tell me about community. Inbal, how do you see community? Why is it so not just special, but important for everyone? But let's talk specifically about female founders.
Yeah. So I think the word community now is just getting thrown around everywhere, right? I'm building my community, but I think where people are kind of falling short is that to have a community, and what my definition of community is when you bring people together. So a lot of people say my podcast community when they're referring to their listeners. So it kind of goes into the difference between memberships as well. Membership is just a transaction that occurs monthly in your business. The people in your membership don't even have to talk to one another to sometimes get the benefit of a membership. But community is truly that feeling of safety, belonging, friendship, where you go and you're like, oh my God, this feels like a warm hug, right? That's kind of how I like to explain the way that Like Minded Collective and Like Minded OC is. You walk in, it just feels like a warm hug, right? You're just hanging out with friends. And that's the feeling of community. There's different aspects to people's businesses that they can incorporate community, right? You can have a membership where people come together. Like I'm a part of a coaching membership and it feels like community because we meet on calls, we talk, we chat. Everyone is like, together in this. There could be like fitness memberships that incorporate community, right? Where they do community events. You're working out in a group. There's business communities where you do networking, co-working, small groups. So it's really just that sense of feeling like you're around your people. And the community builder's job is to create that feeling.
What is important about that? I mean, we all know that business building, entrepreneurship can be lonely. We hear it all the time. We feel it. What is important about being in a community, seeking that out, being intentional about finding your place that you belong?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I could quite literally create a list of like 1,000 things, but I think the most important part is when there's two aspects, right? You can be a part of community and you can create community. So if you are a part of a community, and I know this from the women who are in my in-person, right? They're like ecstatic about coming to events to the point where now we do weekly get-togethers, from like journaling on the beach to business to brainstorming, content days. So like it's that feeling of like, oh, wow, these are my people, right? You're excited to go to events. You're excited to share about the community with other people who like you want to bring more people into this community that you're a part of. Then the other side is being that community builder, right? You're creating a space. And so the benefits of that, not only is it the perfect lead generator into your business, it's the best way to retain people in your business and your community. They stay in your life. You're constantly top of mind because you're sending referrals to people, you're connecting people, you're in their inboxes because you're hosting events and get-togethers. And it's also a great way to learn about your own business, right? I have events and I constantly ask for feedback. What do you like? What would you like to be seen done differently? What would you like added into the membership? Did this event resonate with you? Like last in-person event we had last week, and I changed it up a bit. Instead of doing like hot seat coaching, we did some small group like questions and hangouts. And I asked them after we did like takeaways, like, what were your thoughts, And a lot of people loved it. They were like, we love this. We want more of this. So having a community takes the guesswork out from me, right? Because my people are literally telling me what they like and don't like. So that is really helpful. And I always say like the most important like piece is that it makes you keep going. How many times would I have shut down my business if it wasn't for my community? Right? I have to keep going because I know that this person connected with this person and it changed their life. Or now they're doing a collaboration that changed their businesses. And you have people rooting you on, right? Thank you, Inbal, so much. Like this event was amazing. Your community will help you keep going. It'll make you top of mind. It'll give you insight into your own business, ways to bring people in, and ways to keep your retention high.
Oh, I love it. So wild that we're having this conversation today because, I don't know, 2 nights ago, I watched a documentary by a friend of mine that's now on Netflix. Her documentary is called Join or Die. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I think you would love it, Inbal. It is about Robert Putnam, who was this guy who studied social capital. He kind of coined the phrase or became famous for coining the phrase social capital. And he studied essentially the decline of social capital in the US, which basically means people are joining less clubs. And he studied the correlation between societies in which people belonged to clubs, associations, were involved in like community, and thriving democracies, and how the US is not doing so good in that regard. Like we're less involved in groups than we used to be, which obviously is not across the board, but it's something to think about perhaps. But anyway, I think you'll love the doc. And I love how serendipitous it is that we're having this conversation today, shortly after I watched this really brilliant documentary by my friend.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like you talk about, you kind of were hesitant when you were like, I don't know about digital communities. Let's give a perfect example, right? I met you virtually. Oh, yeah. And we created this connection. And then I saw you in New York in person. It was like we had known each other our whole lives, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost a stepping stone to build such a strong relationship in person. And every single woman in the room at that coffee shop, I had never met before. It just was so beautiful. And we all met in person.
We
It was
picked
so
up as
easy.
if we had already met in person, for sure. And interestingly, I have stayed in touch with Kelly Lynn, and she and I are connecting over some potential collaborations. So 100% can weave in and out of the digital. What I meant was the doc didn't go into digital communities, but I 100%, to me, digital communities are the new clubs in many ways, and they're just as powerful. I love meeting IRL, don't get me wrong, but you and I, if we had waited to meet IRL, we probably wouldn't have met yet. And so, really beautiful how much we can facilitate that. I want to talk about, and obviously there are a ton of benefits for your business for doing that. I want to really talk about the hosting part. You sell it so well. Every time I hear about everything that you're involved in, I can't help but think, oh my gosh, it would take so much energy and so much time for me to plan those things. Like, how does Inbal do it? But let's be realistic. I want to get your take on how doable is this? Should every online business owner consider having a community? What are the challenges? Obviously, we've talked about the benefits, but give me the real.
Yeah, this is so funny that you're bringing this up because I recorded a podcast earlier and I touched on this. And it was the first time I touched on this topic because your question has been brought up a lot, which I understand it can seem like that, right? However, if you are having a problem getting women or people into your business, right? New clients, more leads, you're going to spend time on lead generation. And for you, listener, it could probably mean posting on Instagram, coming up with captions and content and photos, being in people's DMs.
Yeah, that takes time. It's a lot of work too.
You take all that time and you put it towards community. It's 100% doable. Community is my lead generator for everything, right? I spend time moving people into my community because that's where I funnel them into everything else. I have a free community. I have a paid membership in my community, my in-person community, my Jewish community, and my coaching. So what I do is I cultivate community as a way to move people down into whatever section of my business they need to go into. So yes, it does take time, but what you see is 3 years in the making. When I first started, I was just doing one virtual event a month. That's it. One virtual event. And then I realized, okay, I need more. And I am my target market for Like Minded Collective. And so if I need more, the women need more. So I started to make the events weekly, and they were workshops, very educational focused. And then I kind of switched it up, right? I took away some things, I added a membership, but it evolved slowly. And that's exactly how my in-person community was. I started with one free coffee meetup. And I'm like, okay, the women are showing up. They're amazing. Let me do one paid event a month. And that's what I did for 6 months. Then I added free events on top of that. So a walk, a coffee, a co-working, and they seem to show up to those things. Then I launched the membership. So it's kind of like, I like to relate it to having kids, right? I have 3 little kids. People are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I didn't blink and wake up with 3 kids, right? Like I was pregnant. Everything was getting ready for one baby. I had one baby. Then I got pregnant. I had another. Like everything evolves and you get used to it. And then you move forward, right? You start to build the momentum. You see what works, what doesn't, what you enjoy. But ultimately for your question, like, yes, it takes time, but what are you spending time on in your business and what is it going towards? Community helps with 99% of business problems.
Got it. And when we talk about building a community for most business owners, so let's say their entire business doesn't revolve around community like yours, right? What does that look like? Is it, I know a lot of folks host networking calls. That might be, something. Give me some other ideas. Like what are some things that people can do when you say like everyone should have a community or most people at least should consider it? What could that look like?
Yeah, there are so many different things that people could do. And it doesn't always have to revolve around business. So just think like, let's say for yours, for example, right? You could host an in-person coffee meetup. It could be free. Just a coffee meetup every single week at a different coffee shop in your area. And that could be your community, right? It doesn't have to take time. You just connect with local business owners in your area. You connect with the women that you met in New York. And you just say like, okay, let's just roam around and do coffee once every other week or something. So it could be as simple as that. You could do collaborations and partnerships with other people in your neighborhood, right? You can do like an art pop-up, like the Nova exhibit, right? That was in New York. Like you could have taken people and done like a day there and then had like a emotional support, like coffee or whatever after. You could do breath work. You could set intentions for the month. Like these are all things that you could do outside of the boring networking. And it just depends. Like the only thing you have to truly focus on is you don't just create a Zoom link and hope that people come. Like it is your job, and this is where the lead generation comes in. It's your job to bring the women or the people in that you think would be a good fit. So for me, I'm like female founders in Orange County that fit my vibe, right? That are open to friendship first and business second. So anywhere I go, I'm like, oh yeah, like you look super cool, right? And fun. I'll invite them in and say like, hey, would love to invite you as a guest to your first event. So you create this experience, and it could be like anything that I just said. And then you bring people into that. So it could be networking. It could be a collaboration with a yoga studio that you go to. If you just want to bring people together, I have a friend who's a productivity expert, and she's doing co-working calls now. So twice a month, people just come and co-work on Zoom, but she gets to talk about her business and what she does before the call. So truly there's so many different things that you can do. Just think of what you do in your business and see like, how can I invite more people to do that with me?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And as you were saying, describing what you do, I can't help but think that once you create that momentum and that vibe, people are going to do the evangelism for you, right? They're going to be inviting their friends. They're going to be talking about it to other people and doing, bringing in new people just organically because it's such a great space. So it's about like creating, and it's funny because the documentary talks about that too, the importance of place and how having that place just creates the opportunity for the community to thrive, which I've never thought about. I've always thought about like, it's just about the people, but sometimes like having that place is also an important, environment to foster those sort of relationships. But my point being that once people come in and they feel like they belong, all of those feelings, in fact, like I want you to try to remember, Inbal, you gave me such an awesome description of community before I hit record in terms of like the feeling of belonging and bonding and the warmth. Can you remember how you described it?
Oh my gosh. I think it's everything that you just said. It's that feeling of belonging, right? Where it feels like a warm hug. But that's kind of the feeling, right? Community is a place where you just feel like you're welcome, where you belong, where you're just hanging out with friends. And there's, I always talk to the introvert, right? Where I'm like, if you have not been, this is in my emails, right? If you have not been to any of our events before, I promise it'll feel like a warm hug. And you'll be greeted at the door, right? And you won't walk in like a deer in headlights. Like all of these pieces are what make it a community where you'll walk away with one new friend. And so like that truly is what it is.
Ah, so good. All right. For somebody who's just starting out, they've been convinced that community building is not just good for the soul, it's good for business too. I love the description of warm hug because it's very sensorial. I'm all about like sensory language and feeling things. What are some of the common pitfalls, or somebody who's like just starting to build a community, what are some of the common mistakes that you might see?
Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake that people make is not talking enough about it. So like I said, right, creating that event and then just hoping that people show up, or posting and hoping that people show up. So you really want to connect with people one-on-one. Get into their DMs and send a voice note like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm hosting this coffee meetup right around the corner from where you live. I would love for you to join. It's going to be on so-and-so. Here's an RSVP link, right? You want people to take an action to RSVP, not like, oh, join if you can. You want people to commit, because what's the goal? To get them into your business, right? So you're getting their email information and things like that. So making sure to give that one-on-one attention to people to grow the community. Another thing that I see people do is canceling events. If they're like I had this actually happen. I'm working in person with this community, and they're like, oh, we only have 4 people signed up. We should cancel. And I'm like, 100% never cancel an event, even if one person signs up, because what does that relay to those 4 people, right? That they don't matter.
Right.
And it's so much better to continue with the event, even if there are 4 people, because they're going to get the most massive value. And then they're going to tell their friends, right? So that's another thing. If you have an event, like, you have to commit to what you promise. So never, ever, ever cancel event. Give that one-on-one attention, and always, always ask for feedback, and truly don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be too much money, too much time, too much planning.
I love it. All right. Before I move on to the next thing, and ask you also about tools and resources, I want to play devil's advocate just a little bit, which is, if I am putting all this energy into planning get-togethers, they all sound awesome, by the way. So I want to be invited to those. I want to go to those. I am invited to those. I try to make those. But I can't help but feel like, is there, when you have a Zoom room where you could theoretically fill it with dozens or hundreds of people, and you have a coffee shop where you are meeting just a few people, let's say max like 10 people, you're obviously like reaching less people at once with a coffee shop meetup. I'm guessing the trade-off is a lot deeper experiences. It's a lot, you're taking a lot more away from it than a Zoom room. Give me the strongest argument for why like the coffee shop with 10 women outweighs the Zoom room with 100 people.
I mean, I don't think it does, truly. I think that it really just depends on what you're offering, right? If you are offering, like, your services are high ticket, so when you want women to invest higher ticket and, invest in themselves at a higher ticket, in person is way better, because that relationship is going to be there, right? However, if you have a group program and you're just trying to get people into your world to send them maybe to a free workshop and like build that relationship, then obviously the 100 people is going to be more fruitful. However, I will tell you that the follow-up to the 100 women is going to have to be stronger than the follow-up to the 10 women at coffee, right? You want to follow up. You want to thank them for being on the call. You want to see like how you can support them. You want to make sure that they're seeing your stuff. So it just depends on where you want to bring people to. But yeah, I mean, in person is so much stronger, right? And you remember people that way, and people will remember you. So many people have Zoom rooms right now, networking, co-working. There's just a lot of noise online. So in person is always better, but it really just boils down to what you want to funnel them into.
That's fair. And I mean, it's funny that we kind of went down this path too, because with the brand video, that is like the feeling and the spirit that I want to encapsulate is like, how can I transport this person, this stranger who's watching your story, to make them feel like they're in that coffee shop with you and that you guys are already like intimate friends. And so just a few hours ago, I was directing my client in San Diego during his interview for his brand video. And I was so impressed with him because I did not think he was going to easily get to that place of, essentially, I felt like he was talking to me and we were having this very intimate conversation. We go off script a lot, which like we write down the script, like these are the exact words I need from you. But ultimately, I want their soul to come through. And so if saying these words, they're not coming through. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the power of meeting in person, I get it. And sometimes, if you're thinking about potential relationships that will develop into not just a client for your business, but a potential partner for your business, 100% that's where the coffee shop in person, like those will go further a lot faster, I feel like, right? Do you agree?
Yeah. And I also think that the in-person are few and far between. So if you want more reach, like the people in your in-person community to tell other people, then that's going to be way bigger, right? Because the 100 people, they're like, oh yeah, people go to these all the time. Like it's nothing special. But an in-person coffee meetup for entrepreneurs, in my case, that doesn't happen all the time. And so the conversations for referrals and bringing people in is going to be greater for that.
I agree. That's so interesting. Okay. I'm sold. I'm actually like, as we've been having this conversation, I'm like, I've been telling myself that I wanted to bring some of the entrepreneurial women who I've met online, who are all in the New York City or Long Island area. I have to organize a meetup with these women and, whoever can make it, great. not even necessarily for a lead gen thing, but like we should all meet. Like we're in the same geographic area. Not everyone is, but we are. So why haven't we like gone to the city, gone to a coffee shop and just like met each other in person? So I'm feeling more inspired than ever to actually make that happen. So hold me to it, Paul.
Yeah, I will. And truly, like,
yeah.
that's the thing, right? Community doesn't always have to be just a way to make money in your business. Like, it could be
for
just
sure.
good for your soul, right?
Yeah.
People to riff ideas off of, make new friends, find somebody who can just be like your business bestie and just spend time around women who get it. You know?
Yeah.
And I think like that's the biggest thing. Going back to a question you asked a while ago, like so much effort goes into it. And it's like, yeah, if you look at it as direct ROI, community is the long game. It takes time to build relationships and like see that money return.
Yeah.
However, if you're looking at it from a different way, right? Like you want business friends, you want to be around women who get it. I have friendships of 20 plus years. They're not entrepreneurs. I can't talk to them about business. But I have now a group of friends where I can be like, I'm running into this problem. Can you help me? You know, can you brainstorm with me? And they're up for it in a second. So like, that's another thing, right? You don't know what the conversations are going to be like, right? Like you would have never met Kelly Lynn if you had not come to that coffee meetup. And that's kind of how it works, right? It's like a trickle effect.
Yeah. It's like an EROI. It's an emotional return on investment.
Exactly. Which is way better sometimes than the dollars.
Yeah. It's needed too. Like, yeah, we're humans. Like we need community for the sake of humanity, not just for the sake of our business.
Totally.
Love it. What are some tools or some resources that you think are really useful for people?
Yeah, so I'll just tell you what I use because I am frugal. So I use MailerLite. MailerLite is a email software. It's totally free to set up and up to 1,000 email subscribers. So it's 100% free. It's super easy to use and user friendly. For people to RSVP to the events, I use Addevent, ADDEVENT.com. And it's free if you just want to set up events and have people RSVP. It's a monthly fee to create calendars. So I have a calendar for Like-Minded OC. I have a calendar for Founders Who Shabbat. And like, it's easy for people to subscribe to that, but it's very easy and free for events. I use Zoom. And that's truly it. Like Zoom, Addevent, and my emails are like, and Stripe, but that's it. Everything else I really do through Canva. Like you can create a landing page for free in Canva and host it in Canva. You can connect it to your domain. It's all free. So Canva is a really good resource too. If you want to create a community, create a free landing page on Canva.
I love it. Inbal, tell me about your latest venture. I don't think you've had new ventures since this one, so I'm just going to say it's your latest venture.
And no more after this one, I don't think.
I know. Not your last, but your latest. Founders Who Shabbat. Tell me what it is, what your mission for this group is, what like your heart for it, and we'll kind of end it there.
Okay. I'm like, I may cry. So I created this space. It's called Founders Who Shabbat. It's a community for Jewish women entrepreneurs. I started this as an in-person get-together. After the war started in Israel on October 7th, I felt paralyzed in business like I've never felt before. Probably for like 5-6 months, like I couldn't even show up on video and talk. It was just like reposting things because my mind was elsewhere. I couldn't concentrate on anything except for what was happening in my country. And after that, also the hate, right, that I've seen in America and all around the world. So basically, I was paralyzed completely. And as a business owner, I didn't know how to navigate certain situations that were happening in my business with people that I was having conversations with reactions to people, social media, growing my business. And I wanted to find women who understood. Bless you. I wanted to find women who just get it, right? Where I could have conversations and cry and just feel like this is a space of women who understand. And I started that initially right after the war, like in November of 2023. I created emotional support calls and women could just come and we were talking, and it happened like 3 times. And then I was having a conversation with Beth Neidig, who I'm sure some people who are listening know. She came to visit in Orange County and she's like, yeah, I just got women together to do Shabbat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like such a great idea. So I told her, I'm like, I'm going to steal this idea and I'm going to like create also a Shabbat lunch. And so I called it Ladies Who Shabbat. We met in person with some women in my community at the Jewish Community Center. And it was so powerful. I started to tell people about it on calls and they're like, oh, I want to join. I'm like, oh, it's in person. And I realized, why am I just making this in person when I can make it worldwide? And so that's how Founders Who Shabbat came about. I launched about a month ago, I think, 3-4 weeks ago. And we have like 33 women from all over the world right now who come together. It's on Slack and we do monthly calls. The goal is to have them host their own calls as well based on their expertise or whatever they currently need. But yeah, that's really it. As an Israeli Jewish founder, I really just wanted to create a space where women like myself could come and cry and share and tell people like, I saw this and it really hurt my feelings and I don't know how to navigate this, or I saw this and it was really empowering, and just create a space where it was okay to talk about quite literally anything. I want to tell a really quick story. I connected with this girl. She's 24 years old. She was telling me about this nonprofit she created after her bat mitzvah. And she's like, it's funny because when I tell people about my nonprofit, I leave out the part of when I started it after my bat mitzvah because I don't know people's reactions.
Wow.
And it was in that moment that I realized like, wow, you know, it's so sad to not be able to tell the story of your business because you're afraid of the reaction, right? And what people are going to say. And so it really made me realize like, okay, this needs to be here, right? A place where people can like that can come and share their story. And we can tell her like, you know, how you're feeling is so valid. You could try this, or you can just not tell your story and we get why, right? We understand you. And so, yeah, it was like stories like that you hear all the time, people hiding their Star of David necklace, not wearing it at conferences and summits, like business meetings, they'll hide it. So it happens a lot. So yeah, that's why.
Yeah. You're reminding me of a friend of mine who recently shared that she was having a conversation with her friends about whether her last name was too Jewish or like it's too Jewish sounding. And it just gutted me to hear that. You know, that's something that's so close to your identity, the idea that you would have to hide it or be careful about it or, you know, just be aware of it in such a negative way, you know, of how it could impact you. So thank you for creating that safe space. It sounds incredible. In addition to that, Like-Minded Collective, everyone knows you for that. And it's such a welcoming place, such an open to all free place for people to come in. So why don't we send people your way, Inbal, to your warm hug online. I've met such wonderful women through that group, truly, like people who are supporting me in comments throughout the internet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. You know, just, you know, genuinely supporting each other. There's a really good vibe in there. Obviously, you know, no shocker having met you both in person and gotten to know you online, that you've created a community that fosters that sort of feeling. So how can folks join? Where should they find you?
Yeah, so everything is on my website at inbalclaudio.com. Also on my social at Inbal Claudio. And then there's basically links to everything there. So you have free community, in-person community. We also have a second chapter in Charleston. So if you're on the East Coast and in that area, Angel runs the Like-Minded Charleston community. And if you're a Jewish woman entrepreneur, would love to have you in Founders Who Shabbat. So everything is in my website.
Oh, I love it. Inbal, such an awesome pleasure to talk to you. I feel like every time I talk to you, I get to know you like on a deeper level. And that sounded very cliche, but I truly meant it with you. I just felt like that was really appropriate for how I feel when we chat. So thank you so much for coming on. Definitely head on over to inbalclaudio.com and find the links that speak to your heart, guys. And thank you so much for joining us on Empire Secrets. And I will see you all on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you.